Hi everyone, our video today describes our 2-month cruise from Tunisia to the Canaries.
We sailed from Monastir to Cartagena, Linea, the Madeiras, and finally the Canaries.
Enjoy.
Our passage from Monastir started off with a really nice broad reach. We were escorted by the Coast Guard for at least an hour until we reached the territorial waters limit. And the breeze held in as we sailed past Cap Bon. We sailed through the shipping lanes, which were pretty busy, and gradually the wind died. And this was expected, but what we hadn't anticipated was a fairly large leftover swell from the west. So we ended up motoring for nearly 2 days. The first day was pretty horrible with no wind and a big swell right on the nose, but the swell gradually abated, and we motored on, and eventually, as anticipated, a northerly mistral wind came in. That started off with some pretty good squalls, and from there, we once it settled down, we had a nice beam reach. The wind gradually eased off. We ended up fairly close to the North African coast, jibed across, had a very nice sail for a while there, and ended up motoring into Cartagena as the wind had died yet again. It was a good passage. We spent 9 very nice days in Cartagena before moving on westward again. You can see more information about Cartagena on our previous video, which covered from Gibraltar to Monastir. So this passage was just over 2 days. The winds were easterly, and we encountered up to 2.5 knots of adverse current, so with winds gusting up to 35 knots, that made a pretty nasty sea state. But as we approached Gibraltar, the wind died out, and it was great to be back in Gibraltar after a pretty pleasant passage.
We spent several days in La Linea waiting for replacement parts and for a suitable weather window to escape the Med. During this time, we hired a car with Mike and Terry from Revision 2 and explored the beautiful city of Seville in Andalusia. And the photos you can see here are from the Royal Alcazar Palace.
That's right, let's go somewhere warm.
So our nearly 600 nautical mile passage to Porto Santo from Linea was all on one jibe. We did no jibes and no tacks whatsoever. We had a lovely northeasterly breeze all the way there. It lightened off towards the end, but it was a great sail. Getting out of through the Gibraltar Strait was challenging due to the adverse currents, up to about 2 knots, which extended for quite a way beyond Gibraltar itself. But it was great to be out on the ocean, the North Atlantic again, and it was great to be heading west and following the sun around the world. Our hydro generator proved to be a great asset, and overall it was a really pleasant passage.
We had anchored outside the marina in Porto Santo. That's because there wasn't enough room in the very small marina. This was fine, but it just meant we had to watch the weather because it wasn't all that secure and we couldn't really stay in Porto Santo for too long. So we wanted to make the most of our time in Porto Santo, so along with Madeiras and Revision 2, we did a tour around the island. Porto Santo is a volcanic island, and some places on the island, like we are here on the west coast, the land has sheared away to reveal all these incredible geological formations, which are really quite visually stunning. We also visited a farm museum which was built out of stone and had these underground wells called motamoras to hide grain and supplies from Moorish raiders in bygone times.
The short passage from Porto Santo to the main Madeira island was in light winds. We continued to be in company with Revision 2 and Madeiras, and it's just a very pleasant day sail, and the arrival was certainly spectacular.
In Madeira, we based ourselves in the Quinta da Lourdes marina, which is right on the eastern end of the island. That's because it was just too difficult to get into the main marina in Funchal, in the capital, and it didn't sound all that well protected. So while we were In Quinta del Lord, we thought it would be good to hire a scooter for a couple of days and tour around the island. So we're going around the north coast here, and we went as far west as we could go. And then once we got to St. Vincent, we then turned south through the Riviera Brava. As you can see, it was just absolutely stunning scenery, particularly going across the coastline and through the centre of the island. Bit of a white knuckle job hanging on the back at times, but no, we had an absolutely wonderful time touring the island. So on another day, we took the bus into capital Funchal, where we took the cable car, which goes up very high to the top of the island, and had a wonderful time there. We were pretty impressed with Funchal. It was just a very relaxed, chilled city, seemed like to have a nice cultural vibe there. And yes, we got the opportunity to try some of the very nice Madeira wine and buy a bottle or two.
Our next passage was from Madeira to the Canaries. We had a good northeasterly, which made this passage a beam reach, which then again loves. So it was a great sail. This time we were in company with Matusa Donna.
Whilst in Lanzarote, we took a coach tour around the island, and first we visited El Golfo, which is a volcanic caldera that's been eroded away by the sea to leave a lake. The lava fields at the Timanfaya National Park are very close to the surface. For example, at 1 metre down, dry brush can burn, and at 3 metres down, the temperature is 600 Celsius, very hot indeed. The Hamillas del Agua lava tunnel has been converted into a complex consisting of gardens and a swimming pool and a restaurant and bar. It's pretty cool.
Our overnight passage to Las Palmas was quite nice. We had quite light winds at the start. Once we got clear of the lee of the island, we had a very good breeze, a couple of jibes, and we were there. Our day sail from Las Palmas to Mogán was very interesting indeed. The acceleration zones down the coast of these islands is very pronounced, and we ended up down to Storm Jib only for a period as we went around the southeastern corner of the island. Very interesting.
The southwest coast of Gran Canaria is very different to the north in Las Palmas. It's much drier, it's much sunnier, and the marina at Mogán was just really, really pretty. This was going to be our last stop in the EU, so we took the opportunity to do a quick tour of the southern end of the island. As you can see, the scenery was just spectacular, and if you look closely you'll be able to see the volcano of Teide on neighbouring Tenerife in the distance. Our time in Schengen was coming to an end, so it was time for us to head up to Las Palmas and arrange for clearing out ahead of our next adventure. We hope you enjoyed the video.
Our next video will cover our Atlantic crossing to Antigua and island hopping north to the British Virgin Islands.
Thanks for watching.
See ya.